Hi all, I'm Aryan and I've received an offer from Oxford to study engineering at New College. I'm just going to talk about my experience of the Oxbridge process and ultimately the things that I felt helped me most towards receiving my offer. So firstly, how I made my decision to apply in the first place. First of all, I wasn't even 100% sure whether I wanted to apply to Oxbridge, as I didn't feel I had what Oxbridge was looking for. I felt I might even be wasting an option by applying there, as I didn't even give myself any chance of succeeding. Discussing with offer holders and undergraduates at Oxbridge changed my mind, however. The constant advice that I was given was that the only way there's no chance of you getting in is if you don't apply. Taking this on board, and having decided to apply, there were still many things left to decide though. The subject, university, and college. Perhaps the biggest thing I regret throughout my process is that I didn't decide these things earlier. I was still deciding on whether to study physics or engineering towards the end of the summer holidays. This delayed any decisions on Oxford or Cambridge, as only one offers straight physics, and therefore delayed my decisions on college as well. After trying to decide for weeks, I went with my gut, which said engineering, as I felt that I would enjoy the practical applications of physics more than just the pure theory. I then looked at the engineering course at both Oxford and Cambridge and felt that I was more suited to the course at Oxford. When deciding on my college, the main piece of advice given to me was to not apply to a college purely based on admission statistics. A college that seems like it's easier to get into will often attract more applicants that year and so could become much more competitive. And so I looked through all the colleges and decided that New was best for me, as it was fairly large with a big friendly community and also had a good drama society, which is something that I was very keen on. Visiting university wasn't an option last year, so the majority of research that I had to do was online. Then how I prepared. So Oxford has admissions tests for almost all of the subjects, and these admissions tests form quite a big part of the process, especially as Oxford reduced the number of applicants a lot more after admissions tests than Cambridge do. The admissions test, specifically the PAP for me, was something that I put a lot of focus on, right from the summer all the way to November. The advice that I got from my contacts was that if you do well in the admissions test and fall into this top percentile, you have a higher chance of being successful, even if your interview doesn't go that well. Oxford helpfully had all of the past PATs right from 2008 to 2019, with websites providing work solutions for all of these past exams. These, alongside the physics Olympiads and websites with physics problems, such as I Want to Study Engineering, formed the bulk of my revision. And the key for me was purely practice. Practicing as many questions as possible was crucial in gaining familiarity with the different types of questions that could come up. The more practice you can do, the more chance you have of having covered the types of questions that could come up in the test. After having been invited to interview, I researched and spoke to as many people as possible about what a typical engineering interview entailed. I found that it consisted of the interviewers asking tough physics and maths questions and helping you through them with different hints and tips. I felt that the best way I could prepare for this would be to practice as many tough physics and maths problem-solving questions as I could, as well as speaking through my thought processes while completing these. The main thing that I found the interviewers are looking for is how teachable you are. Whether you speak through your thoughts with clarity and structure, and if they give you a hint to change path on your thought direction, can you take that on board and respond effectively? With such a close and responsive environment that the tutoring system at Oxbridge brings, it's vital that the interviewers can see that you work well with them. Interviewers also asked me questions on my interests based on my personal statement. And so practicing as many mock interviews as I could was also vital in my prep. I quite literally asked anyone who knew maths or physics to interview me, and this constant practice almost immersed me in that environment of thinking and responding under pressure, which ultimately led me to perform better in my interview. Now, the support I received a lot of support throughout the process, so much that I don't think I would have been successful without it. My subject mentor, Dr. Chancharuso, helped me review my personal statement regularly to a point that we both felt that there were no possible weak points. He also ran weekly revision and practice sessions for maths and physics, which I would highly recommend going to, as they allow you to surround yourself by others who are applying to similar subjects, and you can therefore discuss and push each other, which is something that I found extremely helpful. All of the physics teachers also helped immensely with mock interviews and reviewing my personal statement. And Miss Badlow also set up both career guidance interviews and Oxbridge progress sessions that I also found extremely helpful. An invaluable part of my process was my OE mentor. This is an old Eltamian who's currently studying or has studied a similar subject to you at Oxbridge. For me, I was extremely lucky as I had a final year student at Oxford studying engineering who happened to also be at the college that I was applying to. Michael was a huge help as we would set up weekly sessions right from the start of summer to the day before the interview, where we'd go through the whole process almost together. At the start, I would ask for advice ranging from my personal statement to the differences between physics and engineering. Towards the end, we'd work through physics problems together, and I would be able to get help on any questions that I was struggling with. This was therefore a vital part of my process, as not only was I able to get the help that I needed, but I also had someone who was literally at the place I was aspiring to be at, and this gave me motivation and determination. Reflecting on my experience overall, I think there are three main things I learned and would advise to anyone aspiring for Oxbridge. Firstly, start early. This is the one thing that I felt that even I could have done, as starting earlier makes the process a lot smoother and less stressful. If you have your decisions made early, this removes the bulk of the stress that comes from not meeting deadlines and having to leave all of the things to the last minute. Secondly, I found practice crucial. Practicing as much as possible for both the admissions test and interview and taking every opportunity to gain admissions test practice and interview experience is what ultimately, I think, led to me being successful. And finally, make use of the wonderful opportunity of both your subject mentor and OE mentor. No matter who your mentors are, they are purely there to help you and give you any advice you need. Ultimately, though, it's down to you to make most of them and to set up the initiative of setting up those meetings. But most importantly, try not to stress too much. I do feel that there were moments that I stressed too much, but at the end of the day, what I told myself was that this is an opportunity to go for, not something to lose. No one's expected to get into Oxbridge, and I used that to make it a positive experience, not one where I am scared of losing out. Thank you and all the best for your applications.